This is an open meeting of the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board on August 16th, 2022. We welcome those of you who have joined us today by webcast or by dialing into the teleconference. Before we proceed with the agenda, I will note for the record that all board members are participating in this meeting and we are able to hear one another. The only order of business before the board today is a staff recommendation that the board release its draft 2022 to 2026 strategic plan for public comment. To present the staff's recommendation, I will turn to our Office of General Counsel, Ken Lynch.
Thank you, Chair Williams. Annie Yan of the Office of the General Counsel will present the recommendation to the board.
Thank you, Ken. Good morning, board members. As you know, the PCAOB is required to maintain and make available to the Securities and Exchange Commission or Commission staff a strategic plan to support our preliminary and final budget. In 2022, the PCAOB performed an assessment of its 2020 to 2024 strategic plan. This assessment resulted in an enhanced strategic planning process involving broad information gathering from the PCAOB's internal and external stakeholders, as well as the development of a draft 2022 to 2026 strategic plan, reflecting perspectives of stakeholders received to date. To supplement the outreach conducted as part of the PCAOB's assessment, seek additional views of interested stakeholders, enhance transparency, and further refine and strengthen the PCAOB's goals, objectives, and priorities. The Office of the General Counsel recommends that the board issue a request for public comment on the draft PCAOB 2022 to 2026 strategic plan in substantially the form attached to the action memorandum numbered OGC-2022-008. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken and Annie. At this time, my fellow board members and I will have an opportunity to make a statement or ask questions to the staff. We will proceed in the order of seniority, and I will begin. I'm excited to support the recommendation before us to release our draft 5-year strategic plan for public comment. This plan and its goals are designed to guide the PCAOB's work to protect investors from now through 2026. I want to thank my fellow board members and our incredible PCAOB staff for your work in crafting this plan and driving it forward. As with everything we do at the PCAOB, the people we serve were top of mind throughout that process. From workers saving for retirement to parents saving to put their kids through college, and anyone who depends on the soundness of our capital markets to invest for their future. Our first step in crafting the strategic plan was to listen to our stakeholders. We considered the perspectives of investors and other professionals, including financial statement preparers, audit committee members, academics, and auditors about PCAOB programs and the changing landscape in the capital markets. We established 2 new advisory groups, the Investor Advisory Group and the Standards and Emerging Issues Advisory Group, and we gathered their advice and perspectives on our strategy at their very first meetings. We sought the views of our experienced and talented staff on how best to execute the PCAOB's mission. We gathered input from the Securities and Exchange Commission, and with today's vote, we are soliciting public comment. The PCAOB's mission is clear: to protect investors and further the public interest in the preparation of informative, accurate, and independent audit reports. Everything in this plan flows from that mission, starting with our 4 goals: modernizing our standards, enhancing our inspections, strengthening our enforcement, and improving our organizational effectiveness. Each goal is supported by a series of objectives to help us achieve it, and that work is already underway. When it comes to modernizing our inspections, early this year, the board announced modernizing our standards. Earlier this year, the board announced one of the most ambitious standard-setting agendas in the PCAOB's history. Now, halfway through the first year of this new board, we are already working to update more than 25 standards with 8 standard-setting projects. In terms of inspections, our inspections team is constantly adjusting to be responsive to new and emerging risks across the globe, whether it's SPACs and de-SPAC transactions, cryptocurrencies, or how firms are addressing the effects of supply chain disruptions and rising costs on company operations. The Office of International Affairs is working day and night to reach an agreement to inspect and investigate the audits of Chinese firms completely, with no loopholes and no exceptions. And should we reach that agreement, our inspections and enforcement teams are ready to travel to China and ensure that what we have on paper works in practice. Regarding enforcement, those who break the rules should know that the PCAOB means business. Since January, the enforcement team has doubled our average penalty against individuals and increased the average penalty against firms by more than 65% compared to the last 5 years. And we are taking steps to proactively seek out wrongdoing by increasing the use of sweeps against firms where there may be a violation of our standards or rules. Finally, when it comes to improving our organizational effectiveness, we know that input from our stakeholders is vital to our mission. As I mentioned, our first major action as a board was to establish 2 new advisory groups. And we've elevated the voice of investors by hiring the first ever investor advocate as we work to reimagine the PCAOB's approach to meaningful stakeholder engagement. We also know that none of our goals can be achieved without the hard work, expertise, and dedication of our staff. We are committed to investing in our staff because it is their work that makes our mission possible. Our strategic plan will guide our continued efforts to meet our mission and keep investors protected. Thank you again to my fellow board members, our entire PCAOB staff, our stakeholders, and the public for your input. I look forward to our continued work together. I will now turn to my fellow board members for any statements they may wish to make or questions they would like to pose to the staff. Board Member Disparti, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Williams, and good morning, everyone. I fully support issuing our draft strategic plan for public comment. For 20 years, the PCAOB has played a pivotal role in driving improvements in audit quality through its oversight activities. And the board's draft strategic plan before us today builds upon this legacy and provides us a roadmap for further fulfilling our mission of investor protection over the next 5 years. The board has worked collaboratively to set the organizational priorities and strategic objectives as reflected in the draft plan, which focuses on how we can advance our mission via our standard setting, inspections, and enforcement programs. High-quality auditing standards are the foundation for high-quality audits. Since 2018, we have updated and strengthened our auditing standards in the often judgmental and complex areas of auditing estimates, using the work of specialists, and supervising audits involving other auditors. The draft plan commits the board to further modernize and strengthen our standards, ensuring they are fit for purpose in the current environment, including with respect to advancements in the use of data and technology in preparing and auditing financial statements. Our recently announced ambitious standard setting and research agendas are directly responsive to this strategic goal. Of particular importance to me is our project focusing on strengthening our quality control standards, which I believe has the potential to drive significant improvements in overall audit quality. The draft plan also focuses on further enhancing our inspections program. Over the past 20 years, inspections have played a key role in driving continuous improvement in audit quality. Building on initiatives in recent years, we will continue to improve the clarity, relevance, and timeliness of information we share from our inspections, including sharing good practices and other useful insights with investors, firms, and other key stakeholders such as audit committees. Strengthening our enforcement program is another key element of the draft plan, reinforcing the importance of holding firms and auditors accountable for violations of our requirements and deterring auditor wrongdoing. The last goal in the draft plan is to improve our organizational effectiveness. with an emphasis on investing in our employees and engaging with our external stakeholders. As Erica mentioned, our success is fully dependent on our highly dedicated and capable staff, and we are committed to further fostering a culture of empowerment, inclusion, collaboration, and agility. We are also committed to increasing and improving our engagement with investors, audit committees, preparers, and other key stakeholders, including through our recently reestablished advisory groups. With that in mind, it is important that we benefit from input from all stakeholders on this draft strategic plan, and I encourage and welcome feedback to inform us as we finalize today's proposal. Thank you to Chair Williams and her office, especially Martha Kidd and Omid Haraf, my team, Brent Seimer and Katie Driscoll, my other fellow board members, and the entire PCAOB leadership team for your creativity and collaboration in developing the draft strategic plan, and to the SEC for their direction and input. I look forward to working together to achieve the plan's objectives to advance our investor protection mission. And with that, back to you, Chair Williams.
Thank you. Board Member Hope, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Chair Williams, I want to thank you and your team for your leadership role in the development of the draft 2022 to 2026 PCAOB strategic plan. I also want to thank my fellow board members for their dedication and thoughtful questions and ideas at board working group sessions over the past several months. And most importantly, I want to thank the approximately 800 PCAOB employees for their input on the draft strategic plan and for the heavy lifting they do day in and day out. I am proud to share the draft strategic plan of the PCAOB for public comment. And while there is much we cannot predict about the next 4 years, there are 5 things that I'm confident about. First, the dedicated employees of the PCAOB will continue to work with integrity and uphold the public trust in all that they do to further our mission of ensuring audit quality and protecting investors. Second, the PCAOB will explore better ways of conducting operations through innovation. Third, the PCAOB will seek diversity of thought and expertise to inform our decisions. Fourth, the PCAOB will embrace and adapt to change with agility. Fifth, we will hold ourselves accountable for accomplishing meaningful results for investors and the American public. This rollout of public comment of the draft strategic plan is a seminal moment for the PCAOB and this board to support our mission of protecting investors. Once finalized, the strategic plan will help prioritize efforts, effectively allocate resources, align employees to the PCAOB strategic plan's goals, and ensure that the fulfillment of those goals is backed by data and sound reasoning. I am particularly pleased that this draft strategic plan emphasizes data and technology, particularly the statement that the PCAOB will leverage both internal teams and external experts to inform our standard setting agenda. I'm proud to say that I'm a data nerd, and I advocated for data-driven decision-making and evidence-based policymaking at the U.S. Department of the Treasury. Similarly, I believe that the use of data and technology to inform our standard-setting agenda and our programs will enhance our mission of investor protection. For example, using advanced analytics and automated techniques to convert the publicly available inspection report information into structured data would help us see changes in the nature, extent, and frequency of audit deficiencies identified over the past 20 years. This data can help identify trends that inform our standard setting agenda in our inspections program. Additionally, the structured inspection report data could empower investors to learn more about our inspection results and give them another data source to inform their decisions, as well as another avenue to continue to provide feedback on ways that PCAOB can further improve our transparency and accountability. As SEC Chair Gensler and our Chair Williams have recently stated, since the establishment of the PCAOB 20 years ago, our effort to drive audit quality has yielded positive outcomes, something that PCAOB employees, past and present, should be immensely proud of. The strategic plan will help guide us to build on the positive outcomes for even greater impact in the next 20 years. Thank you. Back to you, Chair Williams.
Thank you. Board Member Stein, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Williams. It's a pleasure to be here this morning and joining my colleagues in releasing this draft PCAOB strategic plan for public comment. As Chair Williams said earlier, the PCAOB's mission is straightforward. It's to protect investors and further the public interest in the preparation of informative, accurate, and independent audit reports. Our mission was carefully crafted by Congress 20 years ago by the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. SOX demanded accountability from both corporate executives and independent auditors. Enron, WorldCom, and the other corporate scandals exemplified the belief that corporate executives had lost their way, that public companies had played fast and loose with accounting and reporting rules until corporate earnings were often phantasmic. From January 1997 to June 2002, there were 919 announced accounting restatements. Those involving accounting irregularities increased by 145%. Investors watched from the sidelines as over $100 billion in market capitalization vanished, as one company after another announced its own faulty earnings report. There were no early warnings. There were no alarms. Investor confidence in the U.S. capital markets plummeted. The system, which was not without its checks and balances, had failed. The responsibility for validating those faulty earnings reports fell on the shoulders of the independent auditors. Audit report after audit report failed to identify misstatements or provide investors with warnings of impending failures. Unfortunately, independent auditors had numerous conflicts of interest, some of which involved selling to their clients, public companies, as many services as possible. So passed in 2002, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act was returned to foundational principles. It created a new audit firm regulator, the PCAOB, that would prioritize the needs of investors and ensure the independence and competence of auditors. And as Chair Williams stated, the heart of our mission is the people who invest in public companies. So I am pleased that our proposed strategic plan reflects this focus. I support the plan's attention to our interrelated standards, inspections, and enforcement programs. I want to emphasize my belief that the choices within all of these programs must first look to the interest of investors. Our plan recognizes that maintaining investor confidence in financial reporting requires constant work and attention, and our employees are vitally important to this work. And that is why our plan also focuses on improving the work lives of our employees. While the strategic plan is a draft, we are inviting public comment and are already taking steps to actualize it. We have formed already 2 new PCAOB advisory groups with an elevated voice for the investor. We have begun to modernize our standards with investors in mind. And we are looking at all of our work through the lenses of investor protection and the public interest. So I want to thank our chair, Erica Williams, for her leadership in shaping a new strategic vision for the PCAOB. I also want to recognize the chair's staff, especially Martha Kidd and many of the other employees at the PCOD for helping to bring the plan to the place it is today. So to close, I'm happy to support our making the PCAOB's draft 2022 to 2026 strategic plan available to the public, and I look forward to receiving your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Thompson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Williams, and good morning, everyone. I am pleased to support the recommendation to issue a request for comment on our strategic plan. As we embark on our third decade, our strategic plan serves as a roadmap to achieving our vital mission of investor protection, and by incorporating feedback directly from our stakeholders, we can ensure that our strategic plan is not only fit for purpose, but also reflects a multitude of views, including investors, audit committees, preparers, and the firms we regulate. I want to thank Chair Williams and her staff, Omid, Martha Kidd, and others. My fellow board members, we worked tirelessly to produce this draft, and the roughly 800 staff members involved through many engagement activities for thoughtfully developing this dynamic plan that focuses on the future of the PCAOB and will help drive improvement in audit quality and thus investor protection through the modernization of standards, enhancing inspection, strengthening enforcement, and improving the effectiveness of our organization. I look forward to this opportunity to engage our stakeholders and eagerly await their views. Thank you, and the floor is yours, Chair Williams.
Thank you. Unless there are any further discussions from the board, I would now call for a vote on the staff recommendation. Board Member Disparti?
Yes, in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Ho?
I support the recommendation.
Board Member Stein?
I also support the recommendation.
Board Member Thompson?
I support the recommendation as well.
And I support the recommendation. All votes are unanimous. The recommendation is approved. That concludes the PCAOB's open meeting for today. As there is no further business, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for your participation. You may now disconnect from the webcast and teleconference.